Hello class, my name is Alyssa Ventris and my media intervention is going to be a public service announcement regarding women's transgender, non-binary, lack of available health care. And this stems from America to the rest of the world. So a little background, women after the COVID-19 pandemic, funds were taken away from female healthcare and directed other places. This happened all over the world, but specifically in poor and low-income areas. Sexual and reproductive ill healthcare accounts for 1/3 of global burden of disease for women of reproductive age, and we're not prioritizing this. This is something that could be prevented. In America, according to a report, women in the U.S. are more likely to have issues paying their medical bills, have higher rates of chronic illness, and are among the least likely to report having a doctor they see regularly. And amongst these issues, women also have the highest rates of preventable deaths, pregnancy complications, cancer screenings, reproductive health complications, and immunizations. And these are things that are not being talked about or prioritized in the healthcare system. For transgender and non-binary individuals, a lot of those same disparities carry over to a much higher degree. A Center for American Progress survey found that nearly 1 in 2 transgender respondents have experienced discrimination from a healthcare provider. 1 in 3 had to teach their doctor about transgender people to receive appropriate care, and 54% of transgender people of color in particular avoided preventative screenings due to discrimination. So a lot of these times, preventable illnesses, injuries, medical instances could have been dealt with, but they don't due to these possibilities of being discriminated, stigma, embarrassment. Trans and non-binary face numerous health disparities like stigma, discrimination, lower rate of preventative care and treatment, and increased risk of HIV. So my intervention will be a public service announcement. My target audience will be healthcare workers, both men and women. The general public ages 35 to 65, men and women as well, and high-income, high-education level men and women. I chose this target audience because they have less of an understanding of these issues, because they spend less time with these marginalized groups. They either didn't grow up with them, haven't experienced them, haven't been in the environment of these different groups, so they tend to not understand or see a need. The public service announcement will show the struggle presented in these lives, effects of lack of healthcare options, the current cost, which is very high, and emotional appeals, as well as the use of the social identity theory. I chose PSA because it has a very large reach that can be broadcasted on TV and social media, and it is the best option to reach this specific audience. And TV PSA will have a continuous push, so the message is seen frequently with lots of repetition. So all of this is going to be rooted in the social identity theory. It is defined as a way to specify and predict the circumstances under which individuals think of themselves as individuals or as group members. This is known as in-group and out-group. The central hypothesis of the social identity theory is that group members of an in-group will seek to find negative aspects of an out-group, thus enhancing their self-image. This causes a them versus us mentality, and it prohibits understanding. And what we do not understand, we tend to be afraid of. We tend to judge. We tend to stereotype, discriminate. This causes a negative self-image in those discriminated, marginalized groups, and a negative view of other groups. It perpetuates a lack of understanding, and it can really cause harm. It is basically how we identify ourselves between the rest of the world. The key messages in the PSA will be basically highlighting the humanity of these different groups and similarities we all share as people. Everyone's equal and right. Equal need and right to proper health care. It'll show a strong emotional appeal showing women, trans, and non-binary individuals suffering under current healthcare conditions. It will tie in the social identity theory to show how we judge what we do not understand. And it will show trans and non-binary people interacting like all people, because we are all created equal. So these channels will include the PSA running on primetime television in order to get the most and the proper exposure. Because our audience is of the older generation, they are the ones watching the most TV, and they're more likely to have cable television versus the younger generation. So that is why I'm choosing primetime TV to run the PSA initially. Then it will be released onto social media, specifically Facebook and Instagram. The Facebook demographics are older, and it has slightly more male users than female users. And through research, men tend to be less empathetic of these differing groups and less understanding because it is confusing to them, so they tend to just shy away from understanding and learning about these marginalized groups. We also chose Instagram because it has a very large advertising audience. It is free to advertise on there, virtually free, and it could reach a lot of different people. So that is why we also chose to put it onto Instagram. And social media kind of does its thing. There won't be much need to push things once it is on social media because we will be reaching those target audiences through these channels. So it will be run on TV and then social media. In all, my PSA is going to be incorporating women, transgender, and non-binary individuals, highlighting the lack of healthcare and healthcare disparities in America and across the world. It will have a lot of emotional appeals, tie in the social identity theory, and it will be run on television during prime time, then on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you very much, and here are my references.